I wanted to give a shout out to John Scullion. He sent me a comment a couple of days ago asking me to provide a bit more information on my career, my sales background. And so I thought today is a perfect opportunity to do that, tell you a little bit more. My name is John. I've worked in sales for over 30 years, and in 2025, I've taken the decision to leave the corporate life behind and move into making YouTube videos. But I still carry a wealth of knowledge, and I'm happy to share that information with you. When I was 9 years old, I signed up to play for a local football team. It was in a town called East Kilbride, and the team was called Claremont. And I remained in that squad playing football till I was 18 years old, and it taught me a lot of life lessons that carried through into my career, namely camaraderie, team spirit, the bonding of a football team, how to motivate your fellow players in the darkest of moments, being 2-0 down, 3-0 down at half time and coming out in the second half to fight back and try and get that win. That kind of mentality stuck with me. And as I moved into being 13, 14, 15 years old, I found myself as the team captain. And that meant that I was responsible for the players on the park as well as off the park, making sure that morale was high, making sure that there wasn't any nonsense going on before a big game, and making sure that when we got to the park, we were the best that we possibly could be. And I've carried that through into the rest of my life in managing sales teams up until 2024, when I finally stepped out of my current employment. Now, just a couple of nights ago, I was up over there on the balcony. I was enjoying a lovely summer's sunny evening, and a football game started on this park. Now, it's right in the middle of a residential area, and I could hear the football noises, I could hear the ball, and I came out onto the balcony to watch. And what I was really caught by, and I recorded some footage to let you see, was that it was two teams of seniors, or as I would say in Glaswegian, a couple of old guys. They all looked like they were probably in their 60s or beyond, even the referee, who I managed to catch in a clip. But this was a group of older gentlemen playing football on a Wednesday evening here in Lanzarote in the sunshine. And you know what struck me at that moment? Even in these guys' retirement, teamwork and team spirit was still important. They were running around cheering each other on, and it sat with me because I thought, you know, that's a really important life and lesson there about the benefits, the structure and the camaraderie of a good team. My very first job at the age of 15, when I got my national insurance card through the door, was for a retail company called Halfords in the UK. Halfords sold bikes, mountain bikes, road bikes, and car parts. And my very first ever sale in that job was a set of windscreen wipers to an old gentleman that came in that needed to replace them. Now, he won't remember anything about this, but I sure do. The joy and the pleasure of selling that set of windscreen wipers to that gentleman and seeing him leaving was like a trigger that went off in my head. I recognised in that moment my ability to talk, my ability to communicate, and my willingness to care about what it was that I wanted to sell has served me for the rest of my life. Now, that 20 quid purchase of windscreen wipers, all it needed from me as the kid on the shop floor was to know the differences in the products and how to fit them to that gentleman's car. And as he left with those 20 quid windscreen wipers, to me, that was like the start of a real career. And within those 30 years, I've now worked for UK businesses, European businesses, and US organisations. I've worked out of Scotland, London, I've worked out of Europe, Munich, Germany, I've worked out of New York, I've worked out of Texas in the US. I've been around and I've seen it, and I've worked with different kinds of people, and I've learned a lot in that time. But when I think back to one area that really made such a difference to me, that was when I worked with a mentor by the name of Jo. Jo was the first woman who actually sat down with me as a manager and cared to learn about me. Everything about me, my family, my wife, my home situation, but most importantly, the question of what makes you tick, John? What gets you out of bed in the morning? And see, that question, it was really a game changer for me because it allowed me to understand who I was, but also who my colleagues were. Because I can tell you in sales, there are those who are driven by money, who are driven by success, and who are driven to get to the top of the pile. And then there are those that just want the pat on the back, and no two are the same. And so it's important when you're managing a team to understand what makes each individual within that team get out of bed and go to work. And the minute that you can tap into that, the way that Jo did with her team, including me, was the difference in success and failure. Because once you understand what makes every single person get up on that Monday morning, you can tap into that a little bit, find that motivator for them. And if that is a pat on the back at the end of a job well done, you do it. And if that is making sure that that person feels financially secure in their job, you do it. Because that's what makes the team successful. That's what Jo instilled in me, and that's what I carried forward to my teams. Now, to me, some of those core factors that make a good employee, a good colleague, somebody that you want to work with, has been trust, reliability, and confidence. You need to know that the team you're working with have got your back, that you can trust them, and also that they've got the confidence to go out and sell your products. Because if they believe in it, the customers will believe in it. Now, to give you an example of that, I joined an American technology business in 2016. And when I went to that company as a sales colleague, I met 3 young employees at the business, Lily, Michael, and Justin. And I could see that the 3 of them were hungry for success, that they wanted to build their own families and their own lives, and they wanted to understand how to make it. And I worked with the 3 of them throughout my time at that American business, close to 4 years. And I could see the development potential, but their actual manager at the time, who was only driven by his own success, often overlooked the 3 of them. Now, when I left that business and went to work in London for a UK utility company, I was instructed to build a team. And the very first 3 calls that I made was to Justin, Lily, and Michael. And the reasons for that was that I knew I could trust them, I knew they were hungry, and I knew they had the confidence to go and sell the products. So I brought them on board. And as I look now at Justin, Lily, and Michael, they've established families, they've gone on to prominent sales positions, they're highly regarded in their field, and I'm pleased that I've had some impact on their lives. In the same way that I look back fondly to Jo, my mentor, I hope that they look back fondly the lessons that they picked up on as we worked together. Maybe they'll say different in the comments. If you've ever been on one of these like Myers-Briggs style courses where they analyse how the brain processes information, they can be eye-opening. At this point in time, so few firms are willing to invest in the education and training of their staff. The days of endless courses and videos that you watched online, to me, that feels like it's coming to an end. You need to take responsibility for your own upskill. When a process is laid out in front of you, how do you accept that information? How do you work through it? I can remember doing one of these classes where they showed a picture on screen and the question was just, what do you see? What do you see in that picture? And as we went round, each member of staff that was sitting round the table, each of my colleagues at the time, the answers were so wildly varying. It highlighted to me that for some sitting there looking at a picture, it's an instant response. And for others, they need to leave the room, go away, think about it, process it, take some time to understand it, and then come back with their findings. Not everything is instant. And again, this is just one of these examples where when you look around a team, how you process something can be completely different to the person sitting to your left or right. Now, here's the thing I would say to any new employee going into a business. Get to know people in the organisation. Step out of your comfort zone. Go and talk to departments that you would not be familiar with. Go and speak to finance. Go and talk to HR. Say hello. Make your face recognisable. If you work remotely, make sure that you make that effort when you get to the office. For the last 4 years, I've worked in the UK for a German organisation. Every time I went to that office, I would walk round from the person on reception to the MD of the company. Hello, how are you? It's nice to see you again. Making myself known so that they know who I am and who they are. These little skills, I know I'm saying it here and it seems obvious. So few people do it. The example of that nowadays is, what would you rather do? Send somebody a text message or pick up the phone and talk to them? I know we all know the answer to that, right? But in a sales job, building rapport with people was the difference in being successful. I've never not won a deal with somebody that I was working with on a one-on-one basis, somebody that I was familiar with. I've always been able to make those deals successful. Where it becomes infinitely harder is when you swap to the, I'll just send them an email. No, because I'll tell you how I deal with emails. I'll get to that later. I might look at that later. I'll put that in a folder and I'll deal with that next Tuesday. Call, pick up the phone, show your face, get in front of people, put yourself out there. If it's awkward, accept the awkwardness of it. Trust me, it will serve you well. Okay, so I recognise many of you watching this video may be more mature in your career and thinking, who's this aimed at? It may not be for you, but however, you might have the experience that you want to respond to this. I would love to hear from you. Drop me a comment down below and let me know. What's your career been like? Where are you at in life? Have you worked with good managers? Have you had a mentor in the past? Tell me about it down below. I'd love to hear from it. And back to John. Thanks very much, John, for the message. I hope this has answered a little bit of your inquiry, and anything else that I can answer for you, please let me know. Have a great day, everyone. Look after yourself. We'll see you in the next video. Because again, it comes back to that trigger. Did you see that fly there?